Severance is operating on a completely different playing field than anything else in television right now. It just is. The writing,
The glaze.
the acting, the cinematography, the world building, all of it, every detail. And
He's right.
season 2, episode 2 is their best yet, I thought. Just what a wow.
Of the entire show?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Just a wow episode. Some of the shots in this episode like blew me away. Like the wide shot of her walking through the hallway in the beginning, Helly walking through the glass hallway, and you just see like, you know, some of the other characters in the background. The scene of Bert at the phone booth. Again, I can't describe it any better than the show is just on a whole nother level. So let's get into episode 2. So basically this episode was essentially a retelling of episode 1, just from the outside perspective, which I thought was really awesome because it
was great. Yeah.
This is the first time I think we spent an entire episode outside of the silo. Outside of the office.
Similar.
Severance floor. Yeah.
Right? Am I mistaken there?
I can't remember, but I think you're right.
So this episode opens up. Helena's basically Darth Vader. She is like just no, she's an evil bitch. Like it's actually awesome that they're doing this because you like Helly in the severed Helly. So it's awesome that that her Outie is like the complete opposite of her. Very, very interesting.
Can we say now that I was right with my theory? Like it's pretty obvious now that
yeah, of course. Well, they not yet, but
they disabled her. They disabled the switch some way or another. I don't think it's permanent, but
no.
If you remember the admin room, there was all kinds of switches and code names there with different buttons, and we have no clue what the other ones are. We just know the overtime.
Yeah.
But I think she's an industry plant spy.
Yeah.
Making sure that there's not another coup.
I think so.
From the innies.
Listen, I know we're not the only channel here on YouTube or wherever the fuck you might be listening talking about Severance or coming up with theories. So I know we're not the only ones that think this shit. But
of course, yeah. It's like when you think you're about to tweet something new and it's like, oh no, there's 8 people that tweeted this already.
Yeah.
Nothing's new anymore.
We're definitely right about Helly, I think. But it hasn't been fully confirmed yet. But I was also right. I just want to say, I didn't see anybody else point this out, that Mark S. is the thing.
Oh, yes.
Like, they are 100% hyper-focused on him and him alone, because we learn in this episode that he is the key to finishing whatever the fuck Cold Harbor is. And we see Cold Harbor on the monitor in
his wife.
Previous episode, which is something to do with his wife.
Yes.
Some crazy shit's going on, and I called it. I just want to throw that out there. You heard it here
I think it's more so about his wife than him.
Yes.
But
100%.
Whatever they're doing with his wife, obviously they need
and
him.
I think
he's the closest to her.
I'm going to take it a step further too. I think his sister knows about it. And I think
I don't think so.
But hear me out. I think she was paid off to keep whatever happened from him, and she's trying to subtly get him to try to look into it.
I don't think so, because she was the one pressing the issue about Gemma being alive, and he was like, no, I saw her dead body, and
that's what I'm saying.
All this shit.
That's what I'm trying to say. She knows that something is aloof because she was paid off to cover it up or whatever, but she wants him to find out the truth. So to keep herself protected, but she's trying to like lead him towards being interested in investigating it. That's what I think. I may be wrong.
If it's going to be a twist like that, I'd say the brother-in-law would be the guy that...
Well, I think the both of them, because he's trying to be this writer, and he's a nerd. Nobody likes that guy.
The Annies love him, which is hilarious. They look up to him. He's like a god to them.
Yeah.
Especially...
which is weird.
Derek, or whatever.
So, all right. So let's go back a little bit. So this episode, it opens up, and we get to see Helena's perspective after they re-sever her from Helly, and we see the cleanup and the aftermath, that the corporate retelling of what happened. And again, of course, we were right that they covered this all up to the public and whatever. She put out
it was obvious.
She put out like a stupid thing saying like, oh, I was drinking and I didn't realize how my actions would affect my company and how many people rely on the company and all this stuff.
Non-Lumen drug.
Yeah. So to the public, like, it was just like a dumb thing. And of course they lied to Mark S. inside, as we suspected, that it was like, you're heroes and all this other stuff.
So silly.
The episode really paints Helena as like a villain. Like, she only cares about the company, only cares about whatever. Her dad, he comes in and calls her a fetid swine or whatever.
Muppet.
Yeah. So he's some sort of like ruthless dictator. It's a very
that's why I think she's kind of like a victim.
You think so?
Because like just think about all the powerful parents that make their kids do shit that they don't want to do. Like
that's fair.
And make them get jobs that they don't want to do. Run this company because I built it up for you. Like
that's fair. That's fair.
So I think she's gonna break out from that shell, and she's gonna be one of the heroes. She's probably gonna have the biggest turnaround, probably as far as the villains in the show.
I could see that. At the end of the episode, as predicted by Dusty, she was looking at the footage of Helly interacting with Mark.
Yep.
And she's studying it, almost as if to figure out how she could play Helly properly and pretend to be Helly. The interesting part, though, is that she almost forms a tear when she sees them sort of hugging and kissing and like being emotionally attached to each other.
Enamored by the thought of an emotional connection.
And she cracks a little bit of a smile when Helly comes back and says, just in case we don't make it, or in case we do. So you might be right, Marvin. Maybe she's like having a connection with somebody might be a nice thing for a change.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a big conversation with my aunt about it because I have her watch this show and she's a little dim sometimes. No, I'm kidding. She has trouble following like shows like this that are like, because it is a complex. There's a lot going on. It's hard for her to like keep.
It's a lot. You have to be really invested.
Yeah,
and want to learn more about it to really get it. I think
she's 69 years old. So we had a big long conversation the other night. She didn't really quite grasp the concept of two separate individuals with different desires, different personalities, different people in one body. She couldn't
get it.
She couldn't quite grasp it. So I had to talk to her for like an hour of being like, no, these are two different people. And she was like, well, fuck what the innies want. She's like, if the Outies made the decision. And I was like, how could you say that?
Helly.
It's another person.
Helena.
It's like if you had a child and just threw them away and said, fuck them, like whatever. Like you have to look at it like that. And I was like, that's why it's such a moral complexity in the world of the show. So she finally understood it.
Yeah.
But this episode did a really good job, I thought, of explaining it the way I did to her, because at one point when Mr. Milkshake was going around convincing all of them to come back and whatnot, he says to Mark, can you live with your innie? What did he say? He's like, your innie shouldn't suffer non-existence because of your decision.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that was deep, because that is the consequence of everything that happened.
It was deep, but it was like,
but he was manipulative.
It's all a ploy.
I know that, but I'm saying he raised the point that I was trying to make to my aunt of that, like, if you just quit your job, you're killing your innie. It's another person. It's another human being.
They mentioned that several times. Like,
of course,
even in the first episode when Irv's about to leave, and Dylan's like, no, you can't leave because you quit. That's it. The crazy thing that is still a little bit unclear to me is first season, the whole reintegration thing. I was talking to one of my coworkers about this episode, and we started talking about it, and it doesn't really make sense what he was trying to accomplish by reintegrating. They didn't take his chip out, which you would think they would take his chip out when he quit or when he was fired or whatever happened. It's kind of just blurry. Like, they didn't give enough, and they kind of just glossed over it a bit as far as like that whole reintegration thing.
Well, I think the problem with it was we're not going to get to understand it because we were seeing it from his perspective, and his perspective was so disjointed because he was trying to integrate two different people.
Yeah.
And so he didn't even really know where he was or what he was doing half the time.
Right.
And so we didn't really get a good glimpse of, like, we know he was drawing the map and he had some ideas, but he just kept confusing himself.
I think we're getting to a point where we're going to just see these two people. Like, I think all these characters are going to be working together with each other to figure out what's going on. Like the innies and the outies are going to have like a mutual sort of understanding of what's going on, because this episode focuses a lot on the outies, as we know. Mark, we knew, was doing this to separate from the death of his wife. Like, he, Milkshake says to him, do you remember what you said to me the first day you came? You were choking on the ghost of your dead wife, or whatever he says.
Yeah, but then you got to ask yourself, was that, like, did they fake his wife's death to get him into that state, to get him to come to work because they knew they needed him to be a severed guy?
That is an absolute possibility, but I'm just saying, so yes, 100%. And I'm glad you brought it up. But I'm just saying that, like, each person had a motivation for signing up for the severed program
allegedly had their own motivation.
They thought, at least they think they had their own motivation. Dylan obviously is just trying to make ends meet for his family.
Yep.
Now that he gets fired for his Annie's uprising, and he's like, fuck, what am I going to tell my wife? Like I got to find another job, which was a really funny scene when he goes to the door company. And like the dude was like so about like doors. He's like, what kind of door would you be if you were a door? And they just have this like deep conversation about doors.
Yeah.
It was very, very funny. So I love when this show adds like a layer of comedy because it's like always very, very funny to me.
Yeah.
Very dry, but also very funny. Very, very deadpan. Irving, we still don't really know his motivation for doing it, but he's like pretty suspicious of what's going on in there.
I feel like there might, because Irving has a military background. I feel like there might have been some severance experiments or something in military, kind of like.
Or maybe he was just trying to get rid of some trauma that he has from his service or whatever.
I mean, yeah, it's possible, but I mean, it's kind of like Jacob's Ladder, where they give you the drug to go crazy.
Oh, maybe.
It's like
a lot of
you sever this person, and you could just train them to be like a straight up killer, and it wouldn't affect other real person.
That's your second Jacob's Ladder reference in 2 weeks. I'm really glad that movie has stuck with you so much. We get the return of Harmony, and we find out that she was doing things apparently the company was not happy with. She allowed the uprising to happen. Like, not allowed it, but like it was on her watch, basically.
But in her fairness, she tried to warn them.
She did. Yep. But
said Harmony?
Yeah, Harmony Cobel, Miss Cobel.
Oh, Cobel. I was like, I've never heard her called the Harmony before.
We still are left with the question of what she was doing with Outie Mark. Why was she living next door to him? Why was she spying on him? Why was she a lactation assistant for his sister? Like, what was that all about? Clearly, the company was like a little bit taken back by it as well. But we find out that they're going to put her in like a new role as like, I don't even remember what they said she was going to be doing, but it was something
she's going
ridiculous.
to the train station. That's
what I think. I think she's going to the train station too. That's a Yellowstone reference for those of you that don't watch it. She's going to die. Yeah.
For sure. Like, I thought they were going to do it right there when the big meathead guy came in with Helena.
And he was also spying on Mark, which is why I think his sister knows some shit, because he was like, oh, she's a little bit more uppity than he is. Mr. Milkshake, at one point, he drives away. He goes to each house. First, he goes around firing the 3 coworkers for their innie's behavior. Later on in the episode, Mark throws his tantrum, and they go back to rehire them because they need Mark to stay on board, as we predicted. Yeah. So,
well, they only fired 2, and then Helly was the spy.
So as he drives away, we see his license plate. It says Remedium Hominibus, and on it is the head of Kier, like his head, and it's not a state license plate. In the first season, I remembered that Mark's license plate says the same thing, Remedium Hominibus. It's actually Latin for cure for men. I looked it up. So I think also Dusty's right. They do live in like this.
Yeah, there's a theory that
it's almost like a reservation or military base.
They got their own territory.
Yeah, like it's separate.
Lumen has a
yes.
Yeah, because if you look at some of the mail, there's like it says PE, which is not a state acronym.
It sure is not. So Dusty mentioned that we get a small hint about Mark S.'s wife, which I thought was interesting. Might not mean anything, but might come back around. When he's at the diner with his sister and she's trying to convince him to look into it further, they briefly mention the fact that it seems like she was burnt in whatever happened to her, whether it be a car accident or something. Because he says, I identified the body. And then I think he doubles back and is like, if your husband was burnt up or whatever he said, something along those lines. So that's the first time we get like a little bit of a hint of what happened to his wife. So that pretty much covers the episode. Everything combined, cinematography, all this stuff. I thought it was the best episode yet of the whole show. So what's going on there, Dusty? You're not really too sold on it? Like, what are your gripes?
No, it's a good show. I'm enjoying it. It's just not, I don't know.
You're not blown away by it.
I'm not, it's not blowing my mind. I mean, this is.
What would push you over that edge, you think?
I don't know. I'd have to see it to know. I mean,
what about it is like not bringing you there? Is it just because it's a little slow and methodical?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the cinematography, but I think sometimes it's a little overdone. Like I understand the world they're trying to build. They just keep going back like the long hallways and the long walks.
It's very cold and yeah, like benign.
Wasted. Yeah.
I think this is like easily top 10, probably higher once it's all done, but even right now, this is like easily like top 10.
A little bit of speculation. So do you guys have any inkling I mean, I guess we covered it a little bit, but Cold Harbor, like obviously it's some things surrounding his wife, and they need him in there to like they specifically need him. They say it. We need him to finish Cold Harbor. So do whatever you have to do to keep him working for us. Like, what could it be?
The only thing
I don't know, because we don't even know what the numbers do or what they're actually doing there. We just know they're
collecting numbers.
They're finding numbers that they're afraid of, and they're dumping them in a basket.
It's numbers that make them like feel uneasy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Dumping them in a basket. That's literally what they're doing.
The only thing I had said last episode, she's like in a coma. She's still alive and in a coma. So her severed side is, I don't know. I did see an interesting theory though. Someone thinks that she's a clone. The one that was doing the wellness is the clone. And they're trying to essentially use Mark to give her old personality, her being back via this
consciousness.
This new clone.
Interesting.
So we'll see. Maybe. I don't know.
It would make sense to me if there was like because obviously the company's up to some crazy shit. Cloning would maybe be that thing because like in real life, like we clone shit all the time, organs now and shit. But like we haven't quite taken like the moral leap to clone human beings, as far as we know. But
right.
But to what end? Like what would be the goal there? I don't know. There's always got to be a point to the thing. But either way, this show's got me hooked. 2 episodes in. I'm very excited to see where it goes.
I love that Irv's, Innie, and Outie are both like really smart.
Yeah.
Because the Innie was onto Helly R's bullshit right away. When she's like, a gardener at night? And it's like, what kind of gardener is at night? And then his Outie is like smart enough to not let Milchick know that he was up to anything.
Well, I think he's less severed than we think. I think he's more in line with Petey, maybe not as far advanced as Petey was, or maybe he's doing it in a different way, like a more like a Zen approach with like meditation and like maybe lack of sleep, because you mentioned that he's keeping Innie, Irv, like sleep deprived and stuff. Yeah. So I think he's maybe a little bit less severed than we think.
It's possible. He's also just older than everyone, so he's gotten a little smarter, and I think. Oh,
and he's right. Bert too. Bert was spying on him, which means Bert recognizes him on some level.
We didn't even talk about Bert showing up to spy on
Irving. Was weird. Yeah. Well, but you got to think he also Irv showed up at his house in the middle of the night banging on the.
That is true. Forgot about that.
We didn't see the fallout from that, but I mean, you assume that he shows up like, what the fuck are you doing banging on my door?
True.
But I think Irv has just got. I think it's a couple of things. So Irv, he's one of the older severed employees, so
could be older technology.
He gets smarter. The more you're awake, the smarter you get. But you also, I think, you just tap into like stuff that your
Innie self
Outie knows.
Oh, your
like
Outie
your
knows,
Innie taps into stuff your Outie knows.
Well,
it's kind of like riding a bike. Like you're not gonna forget like things, right?
Well,
like,
let's just say this, right? What if the natural progression of whatever they're doing, maybe this is new, like, right, in the world of this show, maybe this is like a newer technology. It would make sense if
I think so.
I'm just saying, what if the technology is like fairly new-ish to the point where like Lumen doesn't even know like the long-term effects of it or repercussions. Sure. So what if there's a world where the natural evolution of being severed is that the two personalities do combine at one point? And maybe Petey just accelerated it by doing whatever he was doing, so his brain fried. Maybe with Irving, it's like happening naturally over the course of time.
Yeah. I think that could be the case.
Yeah, there's like.
We also don't know if Lumen. It's a chip in your head. Like they could have been like slowly killing Petey for all we know with this chip. Like
it could be like the Suicide Squad where Amanda Waller has the fucking the neck rings around it. They just blast their heads off when they step out of line. There's literally 100 different directions that they could take it. So I'm fully on board for whatever they do. I'm like super like locked in. I want to know.
I'm locked in, and I can't read any books about this, so I don't have a choice.
You gotta just to be locked sit in. With it. And read
but I mean, they already confirmed season 3, right? So
yes, but yeah, so great episode. Can't wait for episode 3. Leave a comment, folks. Let us know what your thoughts and theories are on Severance season 2. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Anything
also, folks, don't be misinformed. These drop on Thursday nights, even though it says Friday. These do drop at like 9 p.m. on Thursday nights. So.
Ooh, Marvin with the PSA. Good.
That's right.
That deserves a like on the video. I'm sorry. If you don't leave a like on this, that's crazy.